And welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my spoiler best moments for the first episode of Disney Plus's original Marvel series Loki. Very excited to talk about this. So this is full of spoilers, so that's your warning. But for now, let's jump into it. So if, like me, you probably were wondering how on earth are we going to put Loki in, because since the last time we saw him, he had his neck snapped by Thanos. But if you thought about it, for a second, or you've been watching those trailers, you would have seen him pick up the Tesseract, and then you would have thought, okay, so what happens with that timeline? And I'm pretty much guessing that this is actually the start of the multiverse. Even right at the beginning, where we see the clock face, where Loki's been taken by the timekeepers. We see that clock start talking about trying to keep that one timeline, just right, and so they have to have the Watchers, keep this timeline right in order to make sure that there isn't a multiverse. And I'm guessing from the continuation of this series is where we're going to see the multiverse of madness continue, because jumping right to the end, we find out that the bad guy is in fact a variant Loki, but I'm guessing that he is from another multiverse. He is from another universe, maybe another timeline. So maybe the timeline is out of whack. Everything that was meant to happen with Thanos happened. And so this has to be because of something that Loki did, or Loki did in another timeline. And so now Loki is going to be fighting Loki. And I'm guessing that this version of Loki is much more evil, as we see him, one of my favorite moments, in that hooded cloak, kind of original comic cover. If you've ever read the comics, you would have known him in that cloak. If you've seen in the light of day, it's probably a dark green color, like one of his colors, but lighting the timekeepers, or the 8-time agents, on fire. And so we now know that the agents, the Minutemen that are being killed, is Loki killing them. And so that's very interesting. There's some nice little Easter eggs in this, like the blueberry chewing gum. You'll know where that's from. There's also a very clever way of solidifying Loki into our Marvel hero timeline, making us feel very much at home. For me, this feels like the most Marvel TV series that we've had so far. So I loved Wanda. I thought it was excellent, very different. Obviously, loved the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, was great. But this feels so Marvel. Even though, like, Loki's potentially, or was, a bad guy, it pretends to be the bad guy, and that's what this whole episode was about, really. Him coming to terms with why he does the bad things that he does. And once he comes to terms with that, I'm guessing is now he's going to join in on the hunt with the Owen Wilson agent, who I think plays this character fantastic. I just thought his presence, but more than his presence, the way he plays his character is just perfect for this role. Fantastically casted. And then we get to see a little bit about the world, where the Watchers have created. No magic is there. One of the best moments is probably that is going to stick into your mind is where they have all the Infinity Stones, and some of them they use as paperweights because magic is worthless there. So they have all this power, but it means nothing, which is like a realization moment where Loki is just standing there. This must be the greatest power in the universe. And it's just like a screen, like spewing out numbers. If you watch the episode, there are definitely a few other Easter eggs as well. Like, if you really carefully watch, you go frame by frame. If you're one of those, you will see a few things, especially in the credits. And talking about the credits, if you let the credits run through, there's a little audio clip right at the end, just in case you want to know if there is anything at the end. There is a little audio clip that face voice, the little caricature old timey wimey video that Loki has to watch. It's that voice that's basically just saying about the TVA again, which is really interesting. Let me know in the comments below what was your favorite moments. I think seeing Loki emotional about his mom was probably a moment that I really wanted them to go back to, because I never felt like they gave it enough time. It was a very emotional impact moment, and finally they are solidifying Loki in this timeline, giving him much more of a backstory. And that's one thing I've always been excited about, because Loki's character for me is one of the best in all of the Marvel MCU movies that we've had. I'm sticking to the movies, not the comics. But I've wanted him to get a backstory more fleshed out, and so we finally get that. And even in this first episode, we see how much more there is going on. He's not just the bad guy for the sake of being a bad guy, or when he's good. And so he comes to the confrontation of the end of his story, and also the mere fact that his story is written, like he can't go out of that, but he is still there even though his story is meant to have ended. So Loki is unique amongst the stars, and so we're going to see him come to terms with that and become a partnership with our new agents, which I'm hoping that by the end of it we get to see him survive and maybe take the place of the other Loki, that, you know, the bad Loki, the actual bad Loki, and get into that storyline of the multiverse of madness, which I presume is what we're leading up to in Doctor Strange 2. I hope we're going to see Loki in that film. I think that would be a nice connection. This is kind of could be the setup, but also really building that backstory for Loki. Let me know your other favorite moments. Obviously, we had the Infinity Stones. We had Loki confrontation with his death and seeing his mom die, and then little emotional moments. You know, that real play of him, of his life, and then him actually once again being able to escape. So he does that. He, you know, puts the collar on that chick that was beating him or wanted to disintegrate him, and yeah, there are many other moments like that in this. I would say, like, if I had to choose one moment, I couldn't really. I think the whole episode, that's how you do a pilot episode for a Marvel TV series from a character that is very much loved. So that ending was definitely the bad Loki. He's definitely trying to take out the Minute's men, so he's got a vendetta against them personally. But I also think he wants to maybe stop the timeline from being the master timeline so he can jump multiple times and have more power. So I think it's definitely going to come to him fighting himself, which is why the agents need him. Thanks so much for watching this, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.